Hey everyone, and welcome to another video. It's been a while, but hopefully I'm going to be able to bring out some more content to you guys in the coming weeks. First of all, this is all from lockdown, so I've managed to grow myself a ridiculously long beard, for me anyway, and under here, I don't even want to show you because I look like Professor Wheato. Anyway, today I'm going to give you 4 actionable tips to get into this world of wine, how you can get into it. Don't be intimidated, it's actually really quite simple, and there's a few very basic things you can do to get started. I hope you enjoy this. So just a little background on me. So about 4 years ago, I was very kindly taken to dinner by some of my best friends who took me to a restaurant in London, which was the Marcus Waring restaurant. And there, they ordered a bottle of Lynch Barge, which is a Bordeaux 5th growth, with a really strong following here in the UK. It's very popular, it's quite brooding, quite powerful, very Cabernet Sauvignon based with lots of typical notes from the region. And I loved it. Everyone says they have a eureka moment in the world of wine, and that was kind of mine. I'd been exposed to wine for a few years. My dad's been relatively into it since he started collecting in the early 80s, I think, or late 80s. And so there's obviously a fairly extensive cellar. It's been depleted over the years. Obviously, I've had some part to play in that. But anyway, I just left another job in the world of food and wine. So it wasn't specifically about wine, it was more about entertainment within wine. It was like Taste of London and that sort of thing. Before that, I'd worked for about 8 to 10 years in the financial markets doing foreign exchange trading, which was great, but something was missing, and I found this passion for wine that night and I decided to pursue it. So the first thing I did was look into courses you can take. Now there's one that stands out really obviously as the WSET, which stands for the Wine, Spirits and Education Trust. They have a headquarters in Bermondsey, which is actually really close to where I live, and a couple of my friends are doing the course there, the diploma at the moment. But there was one near here, Plumpton College, which I definitely recommend doing if you're in the southeast of England and you're kind of an hour's drive away. They can cram in the level 2 in about 4 days. It costs just under £300, I believe, and then it's a multiple choice question paper after that. And I wanted to do that to test out, okay, is this something that I'm interested in? Can I be interested in it for the long run? And I wanted to test myself on that. So I did it. And I passed with distinction, and then I decided to pursue a career in wine, which I've now managed to do. So I work now in investment wine, but before that I actually went back to very basics, and this is something that I recommend any of you do. If you're thinking, oh, I really want to work in wine, it's definitely worth looking at working at Majestic because they give you a really good grounding. It gives you day-to-day exposure, you get to taste wines all the time, and the training is absolutely second to none. You get to deal with customers, you get to take orders, you get to deal with actually stocking the shelves, which can be a little bit hard work and really backbreaking. It definitely was for me, and I got a little bit tired of it after 9 months. The Christmas period was the period for me that was really difficult because it was extremely long hours. You're basically working 6 days a week with very little break in between. And for me, I just felt, okay, this isn't probably for me. I've got a background in financial services. I can probably step up to a sales role, which is what I love doing. So there's a few things I'd recommend you do. First thing would be to check out courses with WSET. Level 1, it's very, very basic. You're just going to go over like the basics, like what is a grape, what are tannins, and even in a really basic way. Level 2, I think, is a really good stopgap because it won't take a huge amount of your time. It doesn't cost a huge amount of money, and it still covers things in a really good in-depth detail. You get a good overview of the different regions, a good overview of the different grapes that go into making wine, and a decent overview of some of the more intricate processes that go about what actually ends up being in your glass at the end of it. The tip I can give you is just try as much wine as you can. When I first started, I would literally go to the supermarkets of the UK, so Tesco, Co-op, Spar, Waitrose, M&S, and I would just buy as many different wines as I could in that sort of £8 to £10 region. As you get into it more and as you start experiencing wines more, you'll be looking out for things that you won't currently be looking out for. If you couple it with education in one of the standard qualifications with the WSET, you'll just begin to pick up on different nuances that you didn't necessarily pick up on before. And the supermarkets are a great place to start. Beyond that, once you've sort of exhausted the range of supermarkets, because quite quickly you will, I would start with someone like Majestic Wine or Laithwaite's or Lay and Wheeler and start picking up on different wines that you already know you like, but maybe trying grapes from the different regions. So French Cabernet Sauvignon from America, Cabernet Sauvignon from Australia. They're all very big, heavy wines in general, but the American wines tend to be slightly smoother. They have a slightly smoother tannin profile. They age and keep more fruit with them as they age, but that's something that we'll probably talk about at a different date. In Australia, they can have sort of notes of the eucalyptus, mint, which is one of the main giveaways actually of an Australian Cabernet Sauvignon. Often they'll be from the west part of the country in Margaret River. And then the other grape I would really recommend looking at is Chardonnay. A lot of people I see talk about Chardonnay, they say, oh, I don't like it, it's too oaky. And I think 15, 20 years ago, there was a problem with Chardonnay being these big oak bombs from Australia, typically, that were on the marketplace. They were quite cheap and they were really over oak. Often they would put oak chips in the wine just to impart that flavour. What people don't understand is that Chardonnay actually as a grape is probably, and it probably is the most versatile white grape on the planet. It can grow in hot climates, it can grow in cool climates, it can take harsh weather conditions. It's got quite a thick skin, the actual grape itself that makes the wine. And it's very, very misunderstood. You know, you can get wines that are made with no oak, you can get wines that are made purely in steel, like Chablis, for example. And that's another thing, a funny story. When I was working in Majestic, a woman came in and she was looking for a white wine, and she just said, oh, I know which one I want. And she picked up this wine on the shelf, which was a Macon Village, which is an area in Burgundy. And I said, oh, great, lovely, Chardonnay. And she goes, no, I hate Chardonnay. And I said, okay, well, that wine that you've bought because you liked it previously is Chardonnay. They're using Chardonnay the grape. And she said, oh, but that's weird. I thought I didn't like Chardonnay. So don't have these preconceptions. Go into everything with an open mind and make sure that you do try everything. You know, people try Riesling, and I think Riesling's a really good example of a white grape that has a very unique profile. It's got lots of different flavours. It can be really limey, it can be really oily, it can be really petrolly, it can be very floral. Gewürztraminer, whilst I'm not a huge fan of it, is interesting to try again because it has extreme notes of, you know, floral, sort of lychee fruit flavours. I'm not a huge fan, but again, always open to trying these things. I'm not someone who sits there and goes, oh, I don't like this, I don't like that. I think it's important to keep an open mind in these things. And the third thing I would say is get on Instagram. You know, follow wine people who are on there who post about their wine experiences all the time. There are some really good accounts that I would like to recommend you go to. So Word on the Grapevine is very good, run by Josh. The London Wine Girl is really good because she does sort of wine, travel, lifestyle stuff. Tatiana Livesey, she's really good because again, she's quite in depth with her diploma knowledge and she does things about Riesling and again, wine pairings. New Zealand Wine Addict is someone who basically specialises in New Zealand wine. He's got a huge love of those. And I recommend following all those. There are loads of people on there that I recommend following. Obviously me, the English wine guy on there, I kind of do a bit of everything. My name's a little bit misleading because it's the English wine guy, so people assume that I'm talking about English wine, when actually I do wine all over the world, and actually I do very little on English wine, but that'll change in the coming months and weeks as the English wine market becomes more and more popular globally, and a few samples are being sent my way as well, and also I'm always on the lookout to try English sparkling. I hope that's helped. That's 3 tips that you can actively go out and actually try today. So the first one is look into taking some kind of course. The one I recommend is the WSET Level 2. The second thing is go out to the supermarkets or small local wine merchants. I ultimately explain to them why you're getting into it, what you know about it already, and don't be intimidated. You know, we all started somewhere. We all had a time where we thought Bordeaux was a grape, or we thought Sauvignon Blanc was an area in New Zealand. So that's the second tip. Just try as much as possible, keep an open mind, and try to blind taste as well. Try to try different wines side by side together, because that's where you really get a nuance, because there's reference points. You know, if you have a wine on its own, it's very difficult to gauge it against something else. And the third one would be read on Instagram, you know, follow influencers there whose passion it is to share with you every day knowledge and tips about wine. Instagram's a really great source. Obviously YouTube as well. There's some channels out there that will give you more information. And the other thing would be books. So if you click up here, you'll see my top 3 wine books for getting into wine. And I would definitely recommend checking that video out. So if you've enjoyed this, do consider liking and subscribing. There'll be lots more individual content coming out over the next weeks and months. I hope you've enjoyed, and see you next time.